So for my third food presentation, I decided to go with pad thai as my food of choice. Some history and culture of pad thai. So it's a national dish of Thailand, and it was invented in 1938 by a man known as Plaek Phiban. I would try to pronounce his whole last name, but it's super long, and I'd hate to mess it up. But he served as a critical part in the 1932 military coup that rid Thai monarchy of their absolute power. And then this ultimately led to him becoming the Thai Minister of Defense a couple years later. So pad Thai began to receive lots of attention during World War II. And this is because there was a shortage of rice. And this was just because of the military needs and the weather. The military supplies just created it, it made it to where rice was used for everyday meals. So rice production was super low and became scarce at the time. So Fiben decided to create the dish using noodles instead of rice as the main focus point to counter this. So some nutrient composition. So in a serving of pad thai using white chicken, there are about 429 calories, 2.46 grams of fat, 82 grams of carbohydrates, 20 grams of protein, 4 grams of fiber, and then 31% of your daily value in sodium. And if you look on the right, you could see the milligrams. It's labeled. And then 26 grams of sugar. But some more things that, looking on the right side, you can see just how high the carbs are. 29% of your daily value just from one serving, which is pretty insane, as well as the sodium. And I don't think that's fully correct, just because depending on how much soy sauce and fish sauce, which I'll get to that in a minute, which are key ingredients of pad thai, that drastically increases. So that 31% could possibly be over 50% of your daily value, depending on the sauces used. So relationship to disease. So due to the high amounts of sodium and starch levels present in pad thai, which is well over 80% or more of your daily value when combined, I'd say it would be linked to increased risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, and then anyone with diabetes should just eat very small portions, as the starch could just increase the glycemic levels. To counter this, one can use healthier options during the cooking phase. So I would suggest maybe to like substitute the fish and soy sauce with lower portions that you can add in. Maybe use tofu instead of chicken if you want to get a different sense of protein, and maybe cut back on the fat a little bit. And then substitute noodles for fried vegetables just to cut down on the carbs, and that would help, especially people with diabetes. So some ingredients. So bean sprouts are a main ingredient in the dish. Freshness of bean sprouts can depend on seasonality and the time frame from buying to cooking. And you want to make sure that the bean sprouts don't have a foul smell, and prefer to have perky ones, so ones that stand straight up rather than ones that are kind of shriveled up and beginning to like wilt. And this just allows for the best addition of flavor. So some agricultural facts. So seasonality, bean sprouts are grown all year round. They're available basically all year round at markets and stores. However, they have their season of growing that they grow best in. And then as far as sustainability goes, you can grow bean sprouts pretty much all year. However, just don't use harmful pesticides, as these can ruin appearance and cause that foul smell that you don't want and make the bean sprouts slimy and wilted. So this is a recipe that I got off of tastebetterfromscratch.com. And basically it just describes how to make the dish pad thai, and I would go over it, but in a sense it's just you cook the noodles, you make the sauce by combining the sauce ingredients in a bowl. You stir, use a stir fry. So you basically add all the chicken, the shrimp, the tofu, the garlic, all the ingredients that you chose to put in. You push everything to the side. On a pan, you add oil, you scramble eggs, add those in, add the noodles, sauce, the bean sprouts, as well as peanuts. If you have a peanut allergy, maybe keep those out. And then you can garnish the top with green onions, your choice of cilantro or lime wedges. And then you can store the leftovers in the fridge and enjoy within 2 to 3 days, because after that it just it won't taste the same and it'll go bad. So tasting. So my experience with trying pad thai went fairly well. The mixture of vegetables, peanuts, and meat with the noodles covered in soy sauce gave the dish a very unique flavor, one that I wasn't very familiar with. The peanuts were a little weird in there because I just never had. I wouldn't think to put peanuts in something like that, but they added a nice extra texture. It was kind of that crunchy texture, which is very unique. But I served it with chicken and shrimp, and it was actually quite a good meal. And this is a picture of the dish. So in comparison, so in my household, we never really used bean sprouts while preparing food, and if we did, I didn't know about it. But after tasting pad thai, I discovered that bean sprouts aren't that bad. It's probably have a very neutral relationship. Um, they had a taste, but it wasn't one that I enjoyed that much, but I also didn't dislike it, if that makes sense. I was kind of very neutral. Um, but pad thai is a national dish of Thailand, which became very popular during World War II, like I said before. That's just because there was a shortage of rice at the time and noodles became a substitute option. And then these are the references I used for my sources.